Thank you for coming to the October 8th, 2013 council meeting. This is our conference meeting, and I'd like everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and take a moment of silent reflection.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May all be seated, please? Mrs. Lashway, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement for us?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakes Town Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro? Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Stazak?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here.
Mrs. Laybow?
Here. First thing on our agenda this evening is the discussion for speed tables on Carson Road. And I would imagine most of everybody's here for the speed tables. Okay. If you can't hear any of us, just like raise your hand and just say can't hear us. And a lot of times the voice, it sounds like it's coming from the back of the room, especially mine. So if you hear somebody talking, just look up this way, because this is where we're talking from.
Colleen, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can you just generally poll the audience to see who's in favor and who's against at first? Because if everyone is in favor, it may
Okay.
cut much shorter.
Sounds good, thank you. Just by show of hands, is everybody who's in favor of the speed tables, raise your hands. Anybody opposed to the speed tables? See none? Okay.
I'm not sure that you need to hear duplicative testimony. Obviously, it's unanimously in favor of the people who showed up tonight.
Sounds good. Mr. Canning, did you want to open the discussion for this?
I can just set the table for the benefit of everyone in the audience and just remind council. This discussion had started prompting last winter of the yield sign to be put in the neighborhood, and at that time there was a request from several residents as to the inclusion of speed tables, particularly on Carson Road. At that time, we were unprepared in the budget to address that. We were well into the budget cycle. And I suggested at that time that we bring it up again in September, which we did. At Council's general approval last month, we were looking for some direction, and the consensus seemed to be, again, with the recommendation from the police department and our engineer, that speed tables may be a good idea. Again, it's due to budget constraints. Can we do it this year in December, or is this something we put into the 2014 budget? And that answer we still don't have. It's October, and we're trying to get through this year, so that's something we can address in December. But at Council's prompting, at the last meeting, we had requested that I mail the residents of the neighborhood of Summit and Delbar and Carson and all the adjacent streets, which I did, and I'm very pleased to see a nice turnout tonight. And that's where we're at. So Council had wanted to hear the broader question of, do we just restrict the speed bumps to just Carson, or do we include it on Washington and Pershing or some of the other major roads with the police department's input and direction? And that's where we're at. Administration has no position on this other than the police department has come out in favor of this, and we obviously are in support of the chief's position.
Mayor?
Yeah, you obviously know that I am not a big proponent of speed tables because they tend to proliferate. However, based upon the fact that the police department has given such a strong recommendation to Carson, I believe that it would be appropriate at this point to move forward with the speed tables on that particular road.
Mr. Roman?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Canning, you had just said the police department endorsed it. The only memo that I've seen that illustrates the police department says that the police department and engineer have not expressed opposition. So unless there's something else that I missed, I just.
Yeah, I received some feedback from the chief, and he was sent his apologies. He was unable to make it tonight. As a general proposition, the chief is generally against the engineering of speed bumps throughout the town. However, from his experience and from his officers' input to him, he is in this neighborhood making, I guess, a philosophical exception, and feels that the engineering solution in this neighborhood is required, that the education and enforcement just have not worked. That's the chief's opinion as of earlier this afternoon, and he's been consistent in that.
I actually received an email from the chief. I'm looking for it on my chief wrote, John, I am attempting to get one of our traffic guys to the meeting, but I am not certain it will happen yet. In my opinion, traffic issues are typically dealt with through the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. I can tell you that I agree that speed humps are not typically the best answer because education and enforcement usually fixes the problem. I know they, speed humps, are of concern for the DPW. In this case, however, the targeted population of violators for a large part include parents of children being dropped off or picked up at CMS school and athletic fields, and each year a whole new set of parents join those ranks. You would know better than anyone that the people of Carson and Sunset re-endure a period of danger for their children as we educate a new group of violators each year. For that reason, speed humps in this neighborhood are an engineering fix that I support. I've also been told that residents of Washington are concerned that the addition of speed humps on Carson will eventually push traffic to their street. I cannot say that wouldn't happen to some extent, but Carson is a more natural travel course because of the wideness of the road and tends to have higher speeds, much like we saw on Corey Road by the high school. So it really was a very strong endorsement by the chief in terms of Carson Road. And my position would be, if you're going to move forward, you should move forward on Carson alone at this point. We can readdress the other roads in the event that there is some other issue. But you know, if you're going to take one of the other roads, you're still going to hit the speed bumps on Carson as you approach CMS. So that was the chief's position.
Anybody else? Mr. Mania?
Sean, we can do these in-house, can we not?
The answer is maybe. I'm not being curt. Currently, they are behind on the I-Works. If we were to do this at all, it would have to be done before the asphalt plants closed up in mid to late December. I would imagine there'd be a window between Thanksgiving and mid-December that we'd be able to accomplish it, budget providing.
We'll have the money in the budget to do it by the end of the year, you believe?
Again, we may. It depends, we've really been up against it this year. There's been a lot of berm repair, a lot of pothole repair. As you know, we have some excavations coming up, so it's tight this year. If we can make it, we'll make it work. If we can't, then we're gonna have to include it in the 14 budget, and I don't know that answer yet.
And we'd have to wait until April or May when the
Until you
plants
can
will...
cure asphalt.
Huh?
Whatever that is. John Mania probably would know
Yeah.
better.
I
Yeah,
think
the
it's-
plants will probably open May 15th.
May
Right.
15th?
It's just like you can't really fill potholes until it gets warm
Right.
enough. Because the cold fix doesn't work.
And it could close early depending on the weather.
Right.
The bottom line is that we will get it done, if the council so decides, we will get it done as quickly as we can based upon the finances of either this year's remainder, whatever we have in the budget, or next year's budget based upon the timeframes that the asphalt is available.
And for clarification, we're looking to put in 3 speed tables on Carson, is that
Yes.
correct? And the total cost was,
The cost without the engineering is about $1,000 if we do it in-house. So you talk about $3,000 with engineering, maybe $400 to $5,500 thereabout. It's not
For
It's
each-
not very prohibitive, but again, we have higher priorities with the potholes and burns we have to finish up, and if we can make it work, we'll certainly do it.
for each table or total?
Totally.
Total, okay.
It's not bad.
No, that's not bad. Mr. Ferranti?
Yeah, I apologize, Alex. I had sent the chief an email this morning to see if someone from the police department could show up tonight, so he responded, but I didn't get a chance to distribute the email to everybody else. But as you know, I live in the Pershing Estates myself. I'm a big proponent of the speed tables. We've heard from our residents many times that we have a lot of children who walk to school. I guess it tends from the speed bumps that were originally put on Sunset is causing the traffic pattern to go through Carson Road. We've seen the speed, we've seen just a heavier load of traffic going through that area, and I'd be in favor of the speed bumps.
I know years ago when we put the speed tables on Sunset, there was no sidewalks, and it was really a critical situation, and I agree 100%. It just redirected the traffic down Carson. And I am very concerned it's going to redirect onto Washington, and when they make a left onto Washington onto Carson, it's only a very short distance, so they're probably going to barely, by the time they turn, they're not even going to pick up speed to get, so I think they will whip down Washington. So if at all possible, if we could get one of those speed meters to put on the street. And the reason why I think that's a good idea, I've had some discussion with some people the past couple of weeks about it, and they're like, yeah, does it really help? But I think it really, it just makes people more accountable, because anybody can say, oh, I wasn't going that fast, but if you're driving down the street and all of a sudden that thing comes up and says 35 miles, you're supposed to be going 25 miles, and people are outside cutting their grass, and they're telling you slow down, you can't possibly say I was going 25 miles an hour, because it's blaring, it's like right there. And I think that is probably a better solution. I think Mr. Perkins and I were talking about, Mr. Franti.
Can they even put a sign maybe on Washington for no through traffic, just one of those signs for residents only or whatever?
I don't think we can
No.
do that, yeah. Because the other thing too is because you do have games at the, down at the football field there, and you have other activities going on, so I think.
But I thought the natural traffic pattern is through Sunset.
Yeah, you would think that would be the natural one, but I think.
I can tell you that any time that I have to access CMS school, I go down Sunset,
Mhm.
irrespective of the fact that there are speed tables on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that putting speed tables on Carson, my opinion, is not going to change the traffic flow on Washington and the rest of the roads in that neighborhood. And we can
Yeah.
address those other concerns as they arise, but you
Mhm.
have to recognize that the problem with speed humps is that every single neighborhood would want them
Mhm.
installed in their neighborhood.
Yep.
Because that's where they live, that's what they see, and it's not feasible and practical to install them on every road system that we have. I mean, can you imagine if we had them on Clover Hill Drive or Kevin Drive? It's just not a feasible alternative. Carson is a different example, because the police chief has indicated that it's appropriate to have the speed humps on that
Yep.
road. So I think that the council, from my opinion, should move forward with the funding,
Yep.
and we will get it accomplished as quickly as possible. I think it's telling that there's not a person in the audience who is opposed to it.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. We have-
There is.
There is
yes.
one now, walking late.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, then you should hear.
You can come right up to the podium, please, and, no, over there, and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Lisa Fassett. I live on 5 Stanley Place in Pershing Estates. And we've been involved in a great deal of discussion, and I thank Mr. Ferranti for making that possible through Facebook with the Pershing webpage. It has been a heated debate, and I do believe, with all sincerity, that the people that are taking the position that that speed bumps are a good alternative sincerely want a traffic problem to be resolved. Therefore, there's this emotional attachment, it seems, to any resolution, regardless of what is put forth as possible alternatives or detriments to having speed bumps. A huge concern that I have, and forgive me if it's already been mentioned, is for emergency vehicles that might need to come by. I myself have had major surgery, and it's tremendously painful to go over a speed bump. I am very friendly with a bus driver in town who drives over Sunset and is forced to slow down to at best 15 miles an hour in order to safely go over the speed bumps. That's requiring that the traffic slow down even below the 25 mile an hour requirement. I don't know why it is so difficult. Now, I walk on that street daily, at many times of the day, and I have never seen a car speeding. I agree that during the school hours, that's probably a problem. But so why is it such a big ordeal to have either a police officer, which was done on Quarry Road, by the way. There are no speed bumps on Quarry Road, and there was a tremendous problem with speeding. And as soon as it began to be enforced with ticketing, then the problem resolved. So I don't know why Carson is such a big problem area, except during the school time. And that, I'm sorry, is really a problem with parents who are driving their kids in a hurry. I'm also concerned about what that does to the resale of my home. Speed bumps just scream, this is a high traffic area. Now, I don't live on Carson, but I do live in the community. And even if I didn't live anywhere near Carson, I still speak as a member of the community who is concerned about what happens in our community. I love this community. So those are just some of the issues that I feel very strongly about, and I don't know what alternatives have been put forth. I am not debating that there's a speeding problem at all, and it seems like every time I have spoken out, it has been heard as such, that I believe that there's not a speeding problem. I have never experienced a speeding problem, but I take their word for it that there is. But I do not think that speed bumps are the answer. They're noisy, they're devastating to cars. There's no good reason for them. No good reason for them. We have police officers who can attend to that spot for a half an hour during the school drop-offs and pickups, and the problem would be solved. Or we can even have school traffic crossing guards set at each corner for minimal charge. So I'm quite frankly not sure why the push for speed bumps as the only option.
I think you brought up a really good, oh, you have to look over here. My voice always goes to the back.
Up front.
Up front, up over here, I'm sorry. For some reason, when I talk, it goes to the back of the room, and everybody does that every time.
Well, that was just you speaking?
I know, it just goes right in the back. But I want to say, I'm glad you brought up Corey Road, because I have a lot of friends who live on Corey Road, and one of the things they did is put up the signs that register the speed, and I think that has a lot to do with people slowing down. And unfortunately, they're more money than the speed bumps. They're 5,000, Sean?
But they're short-term.
They're-
Once people get the idea that it's being enforced, they tend to stop speeding.
Mayor?
I just would comment on two things. Number one, it's not feasible to have a police officer there.
Right.
We did have one for a short period of time at Corey because of the accident. And number two, it's not feasible to have a crossing guard at
Why is that?
Yeah.
It's extremely expensive. I think we only have, how many?
4.
crossing guards we have in town?
We have 4.
Yeah.
4.
This may be for an hour a day, a half an hour drop-off and a half an hour at pickup.
Crossing guards are not the answer. They don't have enforcement powers. They don't serve any function other than they don't even have the ability to direct traffic. It's just simply to get kids across the street.
Or to raise awareness that they should slow down.
The signs would do the same thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Signs are good.
I'm not a big proponent of speed humps for many of the reasons that you raised. I only am commenting on two of the proposed options that you've raised, which are, in my opinion, not feasible results. And I wouldn't be in favor of the speed humps necessarily, except for the fact that the police department, who's not in favor of speed humps either, believes that they're appropriate on Carson. I don't know if you were here for that.
I heard you, I walked in as you were saying
Yeah,
that, but I'm not sure that, I'm sure that the police department agrees with a lot of things that I might take issue with. So
It's possible.
I'm not sure that that's a fair enough reason. My biggest concern is God forbid, if I were living there and there was a fire, I would not want to be there waiting for a fire truck or an ambulance to come and have to go over speed bumps just because we have a minor problem for a short time, or maybe a major problem for a short time.
I can say, I had the listing
Sure
at
where
2
it was.
Carson, it's me again. I had the listing at 2 Carson for a while. Barbara Swayze formerly had lived there. And I did several open houses on Sunday afternoons. And I can honestly tell you, on Sunday afternoons, many times I heard the cars go speeding by. So, and that was on a Sunday afternoon. So there, it all depends. If somebody's in a hurry to get someplace, they'll speed. But
Going to a football game?
I didn't ask them what they were doing. I just saw them come whipping down the street and whipping down and around the corner on the Del Bar. I was like, where are you going in such a hurry?
Probably to a football game, which raises
The
another
other-
issue about
you
who
never
might
know.
be in charge of
Right.
resolving the problem.
But the thing is that with speed tables, it is problematic in terms and all the things that you mentioned. But in order to have a police officer there in the morning or at the end of school, like especially in the morning, that's like high time when we have our officers are out. There's fender benders, there's different traffic issues going on. It's
We
a very
have 50 some odd police officers.
That's
No.
not the way it works.
No,
Yeah.
that's not the way it works. They're 4 shifts, 4,
At most, you have 6 officers covering the entire town at any one time.
yeah. And if
Okay.
they're out on, I had an accident one time in the morning, first thing in the morning, and
3 times.
I had to wait like 45 minutes before they could even get, because it wasn't like an emergency thing, and they had other
I
emergencies.
see them at the high school all the time. They're at the high school often.
Yeah, but it's hard to put somebody there every single day. But I
No,
think
for a short time, the problem would be resolved. As soon as people know they're going to get a ticket, they'll stop.
That's normally what we do, as had indicated by the police chief. Normally, what they do is try and educate, but his opinion is that in this particular area, education would not sufficiently solve the problem. And that's why he has suggested that speed humps are the appropriate remedy on this particular.
Well, I'm afraid if we keep taking that position, then I can't fight the chief of police.
Mr. Franti had something to
Yeah,
say.
just for informational purposes, I think it was maybe March of 2012, the police chief had the Pershing Estates on directed patrol during the school hours. And basically what the directed patrol is that we have a police officer that would be in the neighborhood during the rush hour time for the school. And I don't have the statistics, I looked for it in my email now and I don't have it, but there were whatever, I think it was like maybe 100 days or that they had a police officer there. We had somebody ticketed for a DUI during a morning school hour. They've had speeding, it was just normal traffic violations. And one of the other things that I know Sergeant Van Ness used to do during football practice, he would give letters to the parents during football practice, basically stating about, making them aware of speeding on Carson. And I believe that they also send letters to the CMS school for the parents and the teachers as well.
Mhm.
So there is, I think that's part of what the chief calls the educational part of it.
I
to,
fully support that.
For the awareness.
And overall, it's really frustrating because every single one of us pays taxes here in town, and none of us, want to see our tax money have to pay for things that it's our own personal responsibility. Slow down, because then what happens is the speed tables go in, and, if I lived there, I'd be, really frightened myself between, my pets, my children, you just don't, you want to try and make it as safe as possible. And what'll happen is the speed tables go in, and then we have to pay to maintain them. The roads can't get as clear as they would if the speed tables weren't there.
Snow, that's another
Yeah,
issue.
the emergency vehicles, but unfortunately, it's come to a point with this that through the education and everything else in the police, the directed patrol, and they're still speeding like crazy. And now this is finally our last alternative. But I just wish that everybody would slow down. You wouldn't want people to go whipping down your street, wherever you live in town. These same people who are whipping down the streets, you want your neighborhood to be safe. And so unfortunately right now, as much as would not be our first choice, I don't think anybody in this room would not be anybody's first choice, but it's finally come to this.
I believe you when you say that, but I don't know why I haven't heard of any other options until now.
Oh,
Why have I not been privy to any of these other options that have either been discussed or implemented,
well, we've
or
had
anything?
we've had the discussions here. We've talked about it several times, and also the neighbors and different communications, and the reason why the police department had been out there. And also, I'll tell you, we have a Mount Olive police officer who lives right on Carson too. So but I think Mr. Roman wants to.
Oh, first off, let me applaud you for coming out. And how difficult it would be to have a minority position, especially
I'm always
amongst
a
your
Lone
neighbors.
Ranger.
And I believe that as of the last meeting, I am the only one that is in opposition to the speed tables for much of the reasons that have already been cited. So I'll just reiterate them again. Yeah, this sets a bad precedent. We should have enforcement, education. Many times when I was a coach on football, we did get letters to every incoming new football parents and all that. I spoke to a couple parents that are relatively new to the season. They haven't gotten anything. Not that I'm sure that they need a reminder, hey, don't speed, but at least the education aspect wasn't happening every year. I am aware of Sergeant Van Ness's efforts in the past, but I know those efforts haven't been done recently. But I myself, for one, would like to see the education aspect brought back up, the enforcement brought back, because it's going to happen. Somebody else is going to be in another neighborhood saying, I want speed tables because you did it for this neighborhood. What, are my tax dollars not good enough? And you'll hear the same exact thing. Are you going to wait for one child to get hit? I'm pretty sure if I lived there on Carson Road, I'd probably be more sympathetic because, you know, everybody, it's in their own backyard. You know, I want it.
And
But
children belong
unfortunately,
there.
sitting up here, I do have to listen to the feelings of a particular area, but I also have to take into account the township as a whole. And it is based on what I've seen, and I've traveled down Carson Road myself. Many a times, if I have to go there, that section of town, I will take Carson Road. And I am cognizant that there's people living in the area. That's why I don't speed. Or if I'm going the other way, I go Sunset Drive. The speed tables, yeah, they get annoying. A couple times, you know, you're pretty sure you'll bottom out. But you're going to start spreading speed tables all over town, and you're not going to like it when that ends up happening. If you don't want speeding in your neighborhood, make sure that you don't speeding in anybody else's neighborhood. I expect that. Of myself, and I expect that from my fellow residents. And I think we should just increase the enforcement. And yes, will this problem happen every year? Yes. Unfortunately, that's one of the issues that happens when you live near a school system.
And I applaud you, sir, for apparently being a minority.
And we have Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple interesting things, and I've stated at the last meeting, and for you folks that couldn't be here, sitting up here, I get to listen to you. You're the taxpayers. You're the people that live there. You're the ones that see this on a day-to-day basis. I can't tell you that speed calming devices, as they're so called, that I've read enough studies by the state and other highway transportation officials for the ineffectiveness/effectiveness, and everybody has to do more studies of whether they really believe that this is going to slow traffic down. I can tell you the first time I hit one of those speed bumps on Sunset, I remembered that there were speed bumps on Sunset, and I never went 25 miles an hour again up Sunset. That being said, as a veteran, I get serviced by the VA hospital in East Orange, and Center Avenue has 7 speed bumps along that course of road, with signs up there that there's speed bumps and speed limit is 15 miles per hour. It is traversed by many ambulances that are taking veterans to that hospital on a daily basis. A lot more so than any ambulance will be traveling on Carson. That much I can tell you. The first year of those speed bumps, everybody slowed down. The second year of the speed bumps, people learned where they could get around them a little bit, and the bump wasn't quite so bad, and their speed kind of increased a little. Little history fact for you, the first town is probably the history of the United States that had a speed bump was Chatham Borough, and that was either in the late 1800s or the first 1900s. And it was a huge success. You folks are taxpayers. You came here, you want this on your street because of what you've observed. The township has taken the educational portion and has tried that. Unfortunately, it failed. We tried the enforcement. Unfortunately, that failed. Now we're into the engineering portion, which is the speed bumps. Personally, my area of town, I've had a lot of my residents and neighbors that have complained that people speed down Woodland Avenue and they speed down Netcong Road, and there should be speed bumps here and there should be speed bumps there. A few years ago, when we had parking up at the high school on Schoolhouse Lane, we had a bunch of residents that came in and they complained that the teenagers, the school children, were parking in front of their homes, were making a mess, and we had to pass an ordinance and we had no parking signs. And I made the statement then that this will mushroom. Sure enough, as those children moved off to another area, those residents complained. We came in and we had more no parking signs. So there's a whole big area all around the high school that has no parking, which heretofore 10 years ago, you could park there. I'm in favor of what you folks want, and again, because now we have the support of our police chief, who says that in this particular instance, he agrees with you, that he thinks that this is now what needs to be done. As a carte blanche, I don't want to see it everywhere, but if a group of residents that pays taxes in this municipality comes before us and says, council, we want you to do this, it's the same as there's 7 of us up here, the majority rules. And since I see enough faces out here from the residents on Carson, I have to agree with the majority. Is everybody going to be happy with it? I can guarantee you that half of you are going to be thrilled with these and the other half of you are not. But I think the majority of the council is going to look to go forward with this. As the mayor has said, I don't know that it'll happen this year. It may not be until early part of next year, but you will be getting speed bumps that are coming out there, as I believe the council is already in favor of.
And we have Mayor and then Mr. Mania.
You know, I'd have to agree with a lot of what Ray just said. And I already said, I'm not a proponent of speed humps. In, you know, commenting on something that Alex said in terms of them proliferating throughout town, which is also one of my concerns. What makes this different is that the police chief, we rely upon our police department to give us guidance on these issues, has come out in favor on this particular road. And if in the next neighborhood, the police chief comes out in favor of it again, then we would most likely follow his recommendation there. But he really is, from my perspective, the gatekeeper in terms of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate.
Is it Mr. Mania, do you want the resident first, or you want
Yeah,
to
let
say?
the resident go first.
Your name and address, please, for the record?
Good evening. My name is, can you hear me?
Could you speak up a little louder, please?
Yes. My name is Greg Hayter, resident of 19 Pershing Ave. I was actually born and raised in Bud Lake. Been in my home now for about 4 years with my wife, Anya, over there. I'd like to bring up two concerns that I have with the speed humps. The first one, living on 19 Pershing Ave, if speed bumps were to go from Carson and also placed on 19 Pershing Ave, I'd like to know where the placement would be. One of the issues I have is an unresolved sewer backup line that the township has tried to work with us on, and we need resolution on. So I'd like to know where the placement of speed bumps would be on 19 Pershing Ave if they go forward with that, because of the unresolved sewer backup.
I think they're just going to be on Carson, not on Pershing.
I understand that,
Okay.
but if they go, if Pershing Ave were to get, if the traffic were to be diverted to, and residents continue to complain that the traffic is picking up on Pershing Ave, I'd like to know firsthand where the speed bumps would be placed, so they don't cover up and the taxpayer's not on the hook for an install of the speed bump, removal, and then install again until they resolve our sewer backup line.
That sewer, just I have a question on Pershing, is that the road's always like torn up all the time? That's where the sewer?
Yes, ma'am.
And it still isn't resolved yet?
The township has come twice to resolve it. The last incident occurred on Christmas Eve. It was an emergency call. The gentleman was great, professional, came out, cleaned the line up, but we haven't heard anything back from that. I've submitted 2 letters to the township regarding the incident, and no resolution yet.
Mr. Canning,
This is the first time hearing about the
Yeah.
letters. Who'd you give to Timmy Quinn or to Public Works?
Department of, yes, sir. Department of Public Works.
After this, we'll speak.
Yes, sir.
I'll make sure me and
Yes.
you will get in touch with them.
The second concern I have, being a mechanical engineer at Pickering Arsenal, second concern I have is, has there any studies been conducted on water drainage and water diversion? Because that area, it's an older area, a lot of water comes up from Turkey Brook. They have a catch basin. The Pershing Estates is an older development. Placing speed bumps will divert some of the water and hopefully not in the wrong direction and flood homes. There are some water drainage issues there. So has any studies, and I guess it's more of a question than a concern, will there be any water drainage studies or water diversion studies done if they put water
The
speed
engineering
bumps?
Yes.
reports I had alluded to before, that would be part and parcel
Yes,
of that.
that's-
So before placement,
Okay.
we said about $1,000 for asphalt and in-house labor. The extra, about $2,500 would be an engineering study to make sure to address those concerns.
I
Okay.
think he's already been out once already.
Yeah, and we brought
Yeah,
that.
He just did a
yeah.
location, he didn't
Right.
do full hydrology.
We brought that up too at the last meeting, because when they put them on Sunset, I remember the first placement of one of them, it just made a mess with the drainage, so.
Excellent, excellent.
And so that is,
Okay.
I also asked to make sure, since it is a slope going down, I was concerned that, to make sure the water does drain off and doesn't pile up and have like little ice ponds in the wintertime.
Sure, or
you know.
back into somebody's driveway, down into the garage. or
Exactly.
first
And
floor.
Mr. Canning was really great. He took all those notes and made sure that our engineer is aware of those concerns, and that the tables will be designed with all of that in mind to make sure the water is flowing appropriately and where it should go to, not back up on anybody's property or back up around the speed tables. Yeah, because like I said, we learned from the last time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
And thank you for
That's all I have
coming
for tonight. Thank
to
you.
discuss that. And we have Mr. Mania. You had a comment?
In light of the fact that the police chief has sanctioned the speed bumps, I too am in favor of the speed bumps. If we save one life, the cost and the inconvenience are well worth it.
Just want to say that I was on Allcrest in Bud Lake a few days ago, and I happened to, they have speed tables there, and they needed them back there. It's on a hill coming down. But I noticed in the speed table, and I just want to, just to make everybody aware of this, the speed table, there was a big chunk taken out of it, so instead of it being nice smooth, there's this right in the middle, so you just kind of have to avoid it. So as much as I recognize that at this point we have no other option than to put speed tables on Carson, and I used to be a huge proponent for speed tables until sitting up here and seeing the cost of them, the maintenance of them, the clearing of the road problems, so on and so forth, and it gets very, very frustrating. And I just don't understand why, as Alex was saying before, and this lady here was saying, it's your, you don't want somebody coming speeding down your street. You shouldn't be speeding down somebody else's street. And it's not like people can't see the kids there. Their kids are there not only going to school, but you're going to Turkey Brook Park. There's all kinds of activities. And it just really, just slow down, people. Just slow down so we don't have to go through this. But for now, we're going to, my personal opinion, I will be in support of the speed tables. I just wish that, and like this gentleman brought up, there's all kinds of concerns. It's not just putting the tables in. You have to look at the drainage. You have to make sure you're not creating another problem, trying to fix a problem that shouldn't be happening to begin with. And I know I'm on my soapbox again, but it just, it really annoys me that people should just be more considerate. Mr. Perkins, you want the soapbox? Here, I'll pass it down for you.
Pass the box. Thank you, Madam President. Just to clarify, we're not putting in speed tables. We're putting in speed bumps.
I thought they corrected me and told me they were speed tables.
Putting tables in?
We're putting the tables
speed
in, not
bumps.
the bumps, not the rumble strips.
No,
These are
tables.
the asphalt called tables, bumps.
Bumps, okay.
Yeah.
Speed bumps, they're over called.
But I think the bumps are more of an actual bump. The tables,
Has a plateau to
It's
it,
supposed
right?
to
they have a plateau.
Yeah, I like the tables.
And so that's what the tables
one
are.
here.
Mr. Stazak, is that correct?
Yes,
The table,
it's a table now.
it is a table. Yeah, I thought
It's not a
so.
rumble
It's like
strip.
where you serve, it's like where you can eat off of.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment. In today's world, and I'm probably dating myself, and I probably don't look as old as I am, thank God.
42.
We are, 42 would be nice, thank you. We're on the phone, we're texting, we've got children in the back of the car, we're looking out for somebody else over there, we're listening to the radio, something else is on our mind. I can tell you that the generations that are driving now are much less considerate and much less attentive to driving than they were when I grew up. I was a defensive driving instructor for the National Safety Council for many years, and I can tell you that I observe more. I'm a traveling salesman, so I'm on the road quite often. All I can say to you is that the people that are, and some of them are going to be your neighbors, that are going to be sailing up and down the street, and they'll be the first to complain when a non-neighbor comes through their speeding. The best engineering practices will be utilized to circumvent any possible inconveniences from drainage or otherwise. We're going to vote in favor of this. I'm sure, Madam President, that we have the votes to move forward with this. I hope that what you guys get will solve the issue. Will it move on to the adjacent streets? I'm not positive it will. I mean, look, when they came onto Sunset, people found a better way to come around. Will Pershing Avenue be a quicker way to get around? And maybe there's only one hump that they have to run over, so that's going to be their next path, and we'll find out that that's an issue and we have to move it. As the mayor has said, I think then we get back to our police department, we look at where we need to do it. But I think everything will have to be taken into consideration that we've tried everything else. It's not that we've bypassed the education or that we bypassed the enforcement issue. Would I love more police officers? Yes. I've said it before during budget hearings, you can't put enough police officers in a municipality to please me. Because the world has just gotten that tough and dangerous in the past 15 to 20 years, so much more so than it was when I grew up, much more. And I can tell you, I graduated high school in 1971, so that gives you some indication of how old I am. When I came back from Vietnam, things had changed drastically, and I watched them change. You folks have children, you have your own personal health and your welfare that you're concerned with. You've come before your council, you've asked us to do this. The mayor and the administration have done their due diligence. The chief of police recommends that these be done. Whether that's going to be the caveat that kills this for you guys, I hope it does. I can't guarantee that, but you do have my support and the majority of the council to get this done.
Okay, do we have anyone else? Could you please come to the podium, sir, and you state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, my name is Nicholas Muscolino, live at 21 Carson Road. I moved to the neighborhood in, I guess, late March when we closed. So I don't know what's been done in the past or whatnot, but has the idea of temporary one-way been discussed?
That has not been discussed to my knowledge, but I can...
Like during school hours?
It gets, I think that's probably problematic, and I will tell you, a couple times when things have been changed to a one-way, it's more,
It's not a permanent. I come from Rockaway Township.
Yeah.
And we have it in Rockaway Borough on the main street.
On
Sundays
Church?
During church.
Church
for
Street?
Sunday afternoons.
yeah.
I was, coming from Rockaway.
And that's mainly just from parking. This is
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
for children's safety. So I know I've had to grab my kids off their bicycles from people flying down the road, personally.
You're just gonna have speeding going one way then.
Well, it's only gonna go down Sunset.
You're not, yeah, but you're not gonna change it, either coming
The
out or
humps are
going
there,
in.
it's less cost-effective for the
it's a
town.
tick.
Or more cost-effective for the town, I should say. And
But
then
it-
just
It's not
divert the
gonna change
traffic
your
pattern the
problem,
way
though.
it's
Yeah.
intended.
I don't
down
think it's
Sunset,
gonna
like Mayor
alleviate your
stated
problem.
earlier.
Yeah.
Either you're gonna have the speeding going in or the speeding coming out.
I mean, I'm in full favor that something needs to be done.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, majority of everyone in this room doesn't like speed bumpers, speed tables. So I'm trying to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's been discussed or not. I don't know if creating like bottlenecks in the road with like,
That was my suggestion, but
Yeah.
that was too expensive, because I think that's extremely effective, but it's too expensive. But I think that the one-way, I don't think there was any actual studies done for that, but I will tell you that, like I said, I did open house on 2 Carsons five times.
So,
I don't know
all
how
it
many
is
times
is,
was I there, Sandy?
about 4
And I-
signs that would need to be put in.
And I
with,
saw people,
with a
yeah, they
hinge
were,
on 'em.
they were speeding on Sunday afternoon, and I was just like, where are you guys going? It's like crazy. So it while it would cut down during the high traffic speed area, it wouldn't solve the problem, unfortunately. But I still think that those...
There's never been a study on it. And I know that it's effective in other towns, and it's more cost, it saves the town money by proposing, or trying this out, because the speed bumps or humps, whatever you want to call them, speed tables, won't be in full effect until the spring anyway. So if this can work up until that point, why not give it a shot?
I don't know. Mr. Canning, what's your...
Studies cost. Studies take
Yeah.
either manpower, if the police department has that expertise, or if you can outsource it to the engineer. By the time you pay for the study, it may pay for your
Yeah.
roads. Again, it's a
Mayor?
budgetary matter. If the
Trying to learn
council
the
wants to
new
go that way.
system.
Yeah, and the mayor, and then Mr. Perkins? Yeah.
I applaud your thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a viable alternative for a number of different reasons. It doesn't resolve the problem at hand. It just creates other problems in terms of traffic flow. We all know, as sitting up here, that when you start changing traffic flow issues, it creates issues elsewhere.
That's exactly what I was going to say. While it
And
might
it's
have a
not-
temporary fix, it's going to redirect onto other streets, and then you have a whole nother
In
issue.
agreement with that, but we were saying before, speed bumps on Carson,
I know.
it's gonna divert traffic down
It's- again,
Washington,
it's
in my
gonna-
opinion.
I know.
Personally, I think the speed humps on Sunset have been very effective.
I totally agree. I mean, I've only lived there a few
I think
years,
the speed humps
but
on Carson, and again, I'm not a fan of speed humps. I think they will be very effective. And I don't see them, and I'm not an expert, that's why we rely upon the police department.
Right.
Because you know what, I, like you, I go to my job every day, what do I know about traffic? But when the police chief, who's got the expertise, comes and tells us that this is the appropriate step and he's in favor, that's why I think it's the right thing to do.
yeah, they've actually had a car, marked car just parked in front of our house for a day, and the traffic totally, it was where it should be.
Yeah.
people were getting passed on the road
Yeah.
while driving down the road by parents or whoever going to CMS.
You know what, it's worked on Park, the places where we put the speed humps, on Tins Road, on Park Road, on Sunset, it has worked in terms of a speed calming thing. It creates, obviously, other issues, the noise from the cars going over. You only have to go over a speed table once too fast, and you
Right.
never go over it fast again.
Yeah.
It works. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, I would love to have speed tables on my road in, Flanders Crossing on Crenshaw. People speed all the time, and we had enforcement in there too. And you know what? It's good for about 2 weeks.
Right.
And then human nature takes over again, and you're just driving. Corey Road, you know what? Corey Road, actually, we reduced the speed limit, which really doesn't have much effect, but I do agree, Colleen, that those signs,
Yeah.
for the person who really thinks about it, when they see the sign, they're going to slow down.
Yeah.
And it's not just a situation where, you know what, I know there's no cop sitting on the other side of the road. For somebody like me, because sometimes I drive a little bit too fast, but when I see the sign, it reminds me
Yeah.
that, you know what, I need to slow down here. So for me, that works.
Yeah. And like Joe Nicastro was saying, he's not here this evening, that when he goes down Corey Road, because he lives over on Vista, he goes down Corey Road, he's going 25 miles an hour, he turns on to Flanders, Drakestown Road, and he's like almost to a street. He's realized he's still going 25, even the speed limit is faster, because he's used to going a little slower. So it does have an effect, but Carson's already 25, and we can't seem to get the people to slow down. But I think those signs, really, it's the accountability. Nobody
There's
likes to be...
something that, not to cut you off, but
No.
until the bumps get in or anything like that, that's something that could be put in effect. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm wondering,
It's
Mr.
going to be
Kenny.
going on
I was thinking
over
the same.
6 months now.
Do we have any of
Until
those
something's
signs that
gonna
we
take
can like
effect.
move over to Carson for a little while? No?
Traffic trail or something?
They might have a traffic trail.
Yeah, if we could put the traffic trailer over there.
I would recommend referring it back to the police department,
Yeah.
continue education and enforcement for the time being. As far as, engineering your way out of this with signs, they're not gonna be enforceable unless DOT approves it and actually
Right.
by this body. So I would recommend that the police department, do the appropriate enforcement and education, at least for the next 2 to 7 months. when
And I
the-
I think if we have any of the police cruisers that are not on the road, if we could just sort of park one over there.
They
I'm
had
s-
it there recently.
Did they?
Yeah.
Because
It was in
that's
front
usually
of my
very
house.
effective.
It
Right, oh,
seemed-
that's one that
it
was in front.
tremendously effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, that, people slow down as soon as they see a police car. Mr. Perkins, I think, had to say something, and I think we're going to
Take a break?
wrap this
Well,
up.
thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Just-
Sure.
It's up there.
Yes, one more. And then if anybody else, if you have anything you want to, you have, okay.
I'll
Go
be
ahead.
brief. I just want to say that I'm pleased to see that there are at least some council members who are opposed, if for no other reason but because of whatever sensible experience you've had. And if, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, if the reason why we're being swayed is because our police chief says so, I have a problem with that. I respect the police. I'm sorry for heckling. I respect our police department. I truly do. But there is a appropriate role for a police chief, and it is not that of an engineer or a traffic director or anything like that.
For traffic, the police chief, he is definitely the person to go to for traffic
For
concerns. He-
traffic concerns and traffic studies.
Yes.
I haven't heard those.
And then
though.
they make their, and then we have our traffic officer, and they go through, they make their studies, they do the counts, the speed limits.
Well, that's what I haven't
and-
heard.
Yeah.
I've just heard the police chief says so, so we ought
And
to.
and he did not come up with his opinion just out of the blue. His opinion was based on the studies and the education that was going on, the enforcement that's going on, and this has been going on for months to get to this point. Because there's not any of us that just wants to go right to speed tables. It is the last
Or to just
resort.
simply go to whatever the police chief says.
No, we
without
don't.
the appropriate
Yeah, I believe the
things.
study was done in February.
Yeah.
when they
Again, I
originally-
haven't heard any of them. I haven't
Yeah.
seen them in any newspaper. I haven't heard them. I haven't gotten any flyers. I haven't seen them at any football games or anything like that. So that's why I raised my concern.
Yes, I know, I appreciate that. That's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have this gentleman right here. Sandy, you want to please come up and, yeah, Just your name and address for the record, please. You actually have to say it in the microphone because it has to be recorded for the minutes.
Dennis Sullivan, 3 Carson Road. Lived in 3 Carson Road for 20 years. Retired police officer, was 28 years. Know the neighborhood very well. One of the problems is the grade of Carson Road. From the school down to Del Bar is a grade, so the cars come down, they pick up speed. And the other way is they come around Del Bar, and then they look straight up Carson, and it's a hill, so they accelerate up the hill. If there's parking on the street, the cars that are traveling wind up in the middle of the street or a lot of times on the left-hand side. I don't want speed bumps either. I think they're ugly. But I think it's the only solution. I don't think it's going to create any more traffic on any of the other roads because it's always the same amount of traffic. It's school traffic. If you want to eliminate the problem, close down the school and eliminate all after-school activities. There's fields up there for outside activities. The school gets rented out for Girl Scouts and all kinds of other activities up there. So the road is used constantly. It's used on after hours, after the school's closed. It's used, Saturdays and Sundays for games. And from living where I do, right on the corner of Del Bar, about a quarter of the people that are driving are all on the cell phone. They don't care where they are, or they're not aware of where they are. And when I first moved in, there were a lot of families. Those families have raised their children and moved on. There's a whole group of new families. And there's young kids out playing, riding their bikes on the sidewalks. And these people are speeding by. I've seen cars, as a retired police officer, I had to be radar trained. And part of your training is speed estimations. I know that's all expired. I've seen cars doing 50 miles an hour out there. And I'm not the only cop on the street. There's me, there's Officer Phil Ryan, who lives on Carson Road. And there's also Trooper Keith Roslin, who lives up the road. Mm-hmm. There's a retired trooper on Pershing.
Pershing, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a retired police lieutenant from Parsippany on the end of Del Bar. So we all know this. And it's not a new problem. I've been in the mayor's office with my neighbor, Al Potashian, and Jack Maskley. We had a private meeting with him probably 8 years ago talking about this problem. And we asked for more or bigger speed limit signs. We asked for the stop sign on Pershing and Carson when it's finally there. And I noticed that they put up a yield sign on the end of Carson and Del Bar. But the only solution I see, because of the grade of the road, the use of it, the traffic, the volume of the traffic, are the speed tables. And I'm not pleased with it either. But then again, I don't want to see anybody get run over. The school is an attractive nuisance. You have speed bumps over by Tintz Road, and some of the other schools, and they've worked there. I think wherever you have school activities, with their the regular school schedule, and then all the activities that go on in the schools on weekends and after school, you have to have something to control the traffic.
Great.
Regrettably, I think that the speed bumps are the only thing that's going to work. As far as the proliferation, it's not going to increase the traffic. The traffic is going to remain a constant. Pershing is a different story. It's pretty much straight and level. Now there's a stop sign there, so they have to stop.
Very good. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Sandy? And anybody else from the audience? Yeah, just come on up there, and then we're going to wrap this up.
I'm back again. Sandra Maskley, 4 Carson Road. I've lived here for 33 years, and I'm also the president of Mount Olive Seniors. Couple of things. First of all, Sean, the line is still not painted by the stop sign. Okay? I talked to Tim.
I had spoken to Sandy on this. The roads are way behind. As we know, Jim Lynch has taken over that, is on the hit list. But
Well, I talked to Tim, and Tim told me that they painted the speed bumps on Sunset, and they were supposed to come over and do the sign, but they didn't. I talked to him yesterday, and it's still not done.
There's been management change over roads currently. The priorities have been reshuffled. We were about 2.5 months behind, and right now all the major potholes and berms, council's been briefed, are being addressed. The rear line will be addressed. It is not a high priority as of right now in the next several weeks as what we have out there right now, including we have a line collapsing on Center Street. We have some significant public safety issues which have to get done. Yours will get done.
Okay. Somebody in council said that, well, you know, once we put speed bumps on Carson, other streets would want them out. So that's fine. I mean, if they're warranted, if they're needed. But I'm quite sure no one on this panel can tell me that Carson Road is not a thoroughfare, because it definitely is. As I said, I've been there for 33 years. My children all went to Mount Olive schools. They are grown and gone. Thank God. I said thank God. But I do have grandchildren that come, 4 years old, 7 and 9, and they're there every weekend. And, you know, I have to make them play in my backyard because I'm fearful of them playing in the front. I've seen cars go zip up and down, as Madam President said, even on Sundays. Why? I have no idea. They must have a need for speed. I don't know. But I'm not a big proponent of speed bumps either. But if they will alleviate the speeding up and down that street, if they'll alleviate, God forbid, somebody gets hurt, so be it. You know, put the speed bump, bumps in. Nothing we do nowadays is going to be cost effective because everything is so expensive. The more we wait, the more things go up. The stop sign, I don't think anybody was here last time, but the stop sign was passed on Carson, and I have the ordinance right here, January 28th, 2003. This is 2013, right? It took 10 years to implement this. I hope these speed bumps don't take 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lois Hatton, 3 Pershing Avenue. I've been a resident for 22 years. My house sits right at the beginning of Pershing. Speeding through Pershing Estates has been an issue since before CMS was an elementary school. People come flying around the corner. I'm waiting for one day I get rear-ended when I'm trying to pull into my driveway. Speeding is an issue, Lisa. You're tucked in on Stanley, you don't see the traffic. My neighbor and I have been walking during school hours when the kids go to school almost every single day for the last, what, Ellen, 10 years, 12 years? So we know the people coming in and out speeding. We used to be out there when our kids were getting off the bus from elementary school. We would see them almost rear-end the buses. So there is definitely an issue, not only on Carson, but all through Pershing Estates. Now, West Orange, around their high school, and Lisa, you're familiar with the area. So it's on a main road, it's on Pleasant Valley Way. So main roads, the speed limit is lower. There's a traffic light right by the school. So that slows the traffic down right there. But all behind the school is residential. Every side road immediately surrounding that school has speed bumps. So it may be somebody can get in touch with the West Orange Police Department and see how that has affected their traffic patterns in their areas. So I just wanted everyone to know, because there's a, well, Pleasant Valley Way is a nightmare, but CMS and our Pershing
Ladies.
Estates is not Pleasant Valley Way.
We can't, you can't
sorry.
go back and forth because it has to be recorded.
I'm
And the
sorry.
Mayor, the mayor wants to say something?
When you're done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
done.
okay. I think that's not necessarily directed at you, but I can tell you, having sat up here, and I'm sure Ray can tell you the same thing, and the last 14 years we've sat up here, every single neighborhood has come in and talked about the speeding problem. I can tell you, I live on Crenshaw Drive in the middle of a neighborhood that's not near a school, and my kids can't play on the street either. There is speeding in every single neighborhood in town. And it's probably, I'm sure it's not just Mount Olive, it's a common problem throughout New Jersey, if not the United States, wherever there's suburban sprawl. What makes Carson different, number one, it's proximity to the school. Number two, and I'm sorry to disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion as I'm entitled to mine. when the police department comes in and says that this is a road which is appropriate for this type of speed calming device, that makes it different for me.
Oh, I agree.
I can guarantee you that the police department would not come in and say that speed humps are appropriate on Clover Hill Drive. And there is a speeding problem on Clover Hill Drive for many of the same reasons that have been addressed here today. The slope of the road, the width of the road, it's just a different road, and it deserves a different discussion based upon whatever items the police department believes is appropriate.
Well, the reason I got up was not to disagree with anyone, but just to clarify, because everybody's like, well, we don't know necessarily if Carson Road having the speed bumps is going to direct the traffic. Well, I know for a fact, for 20 years, okay, watching the traffic come around that bend, Pershing Estates is for people coming from 46, you know, that direction to CMS, they all turn on Pershing. It's a big thoroughfare in the morning, and so I'm just, so the traffic is there.
Quickest route to the school.
Right, right. So if
People coming from Turkey Brook side are not going to turn on
Right.
any road other than Sunset
Right.
to get the CMS.
But there are,
Even with the
and
speed.
from walking, we know, if we go down Washington Street, there are people that are cutting across Washington to avoid Sunset. So
I guess it does happen.
It
And
does happen.
It certainly would happen for anybody who's coming the other direction. If I was coming up, although I always take Sunset because for me that's the closest way, but if I was coming up from 46 and I wanted to avoid the speed humps, then I would cut over on either Pershing or cut over on Washington, and before I hit Sunset. But coming from the other direction, I make the left on Sunset.
But the speeding is not just during school hours. So neighbors, you got to slow down. It's not just the school. It's everybody. Everybody that comes in and out of that development speeds too quickly coming into that development because it's that more of a bend when you come in. So everybody picks up speed coming up and they just fly into the neighborhood. Everybody. There's very few people that slow down coming into the neighborhood. So it's an issue. But I just wanted to make sure everybody is prepared because next year, once everybody's going down Washington Street to avoid as many speed bumps as you can, you're just in for it because everybody from Washington Street, I don't think they're represented here tonight, but I think next year if they come in, it's going to be an issue.
You have to understand that it's a whole separate study. The police department may not be in favor of speed humps on Washington for whatever reasons, and ultimately that would be a consideration. And I don't get a vote.
No.
And I don't get a vote. As the mayor, I don't vote on something like this. I will carry out whatever council tells me they want to do.
He just has to find the money.
I have to find the money.
Like the mom in the house.
Yeah.
And, normally I do participate in the council meetings because I figure that people sitting up here want to know what my opinion is on something, and my opinion generally is that I'm not in favor of speed humps. But in this particular case, like I said, when the police chief, who is our expert, says that they're appropriate here, based upon all of the factors that the police department considers, then it's hard for me to say that it's
Well,
not
I mean,
appropriate.
to me, if the speeding is around a school vicinity, then you need the speed bumps. Like Clover Hill, if they're speeding, they should have speed bumps. So,
I can tell you one thing, in Dover, because I'm dealing with this issue now, I'm an attorney as well, there are, I think, 6 roads in total that have speed bumps, and Dover is much more compact and has much bigger traffic problems than we do here in Mount Olive, and they only have 6 roads that have speed humps in the entire town of Dover. It's just not generally a favored method of speed control. It's only really where everything else has failed and there has been an identified problem, and that's really where we're at presently. I know you don't think so, but that's really where we're at.
Thank you. We're not going to be voting on this evening because we're going to wait till we have the funds and then we'll be voting on it, but I think there is majority support for it. And we don't know till November if we're going to have the funds this year or not. Could we maybe send out a postcard giving an update so people don't have to come out for another meeting? Is that?
First thing that would come up on the calendar, November 1st, we're allowed to reappropriate funds legally
Right.
under New Jersey finance law. At that point, we're already into prepping our 2014 budget. The mayor, Sherry, our CFO, and I meet regularly. Probably the first week after reappropriation of funds, we'll be able to have a good gauge on where we're at. As we know, we came. This has been a very difficult year. We came out of the Hurricane Sandy through the winter. Winter was not kind to us. Our snow trust fund diminished, and we, because of all that, the storm and the winter, we've been behind April all year long on potholes and burn repair. I don't want to make a prediction currently at this
Right.
point for council. If we can get the funds and it's not insurmountable, then we'll bring that back to council and certainly let everybody know.
I can't imagine that the funds wouldn't be available. You're talking about, in the scheme of things,
Right.
less than $10,000 to make it happen.
I'm just thinking in terms of communicating with the residents, how about if it's going to go off until next year, we'll send a postcard alerting everyone that it's going to be. Otherwise, if it's going to be before December, you're going to see it. You're going to see the workers are going to be there, and it's going to be obvious. How's that sound? Mr. Perkins?
Just a suggestion, Madam President, until we get the engineering completed to exactly where these are going to be placed to assure the residents that we're not causing more headaches with flooding or drainage issues. Having $5,000 or $10,000 to put these in, that's the easy part. The engineering to exactly where they're going to go, that's going to be the hard part. And we really need to know that so that the residents know where these things are
Right.
going to go. I mean, right now, they know they're going to get speed bumps, they just don't know where they're going to go. But they're going to go on Carson. I mean,
There's going to be
that.
3, and they're going to go on Carson.
So I think they really would like to know where on Carson these are proposed to be.
I'm fairly
Ma'am?
certain that it's not going to happen until March or April of next year, for all of the reasons that have been discussed.
I think that's being
Engineering, funds
realistic.
availability, just weather.
So we're looking at, in the meantime, we'll park more police cars there, whether they're manned or not.
Chief's already been notified.
He's already
Thank
been
you.
notified.
Thank you. And any of you have any questions at any time, please? We are very good on communication in this town, excellent as a matter of fact. If you can send an email to any one of us on council, to the mayor, to our business administrator, and we will get back to you with an update, and we'll find out right away and get back to you. But otherwise, it looks like it's going to be this spring. Okay? In the meantime, all of us, slow down. Remember, we go speed. We're wasting our taxpayer money, our money that we work hard for, so.
It's, what our plan is actually, having discussed it with Sean very briefly, is that we will find the money to fund the engineering study out of this year's budget, so that we can get that moving forward, so that we will be ready to install the, if council so desires, install at the first opportunity in the spring.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You're welcome to stay if you would like to leave. We have about an hour of meeting to go. Lisa, who did you want, Sean? Mr. Canning? Lisa?
She's saying we have a resolution involved.
What is,
A resolution that's coming up later that she's involved in.
oh, okay. There you go.
You're a popular woman today.
Anybody else have any questions before we move on with the meeting? Okay, seeing none. Next on our agenda, we have update of public property auctions.
Thank you, Madam President. As you're aware, we continue our auction of obsolete and older equipment. I just wanted to give a brief update and also a thank you to Councilman Roman from a suggestion I think earlier in the year. He had mentioned that we should advertise this a little bit more on Facebook and
Where's my cut?
some local social media. Our latest results, we sold six obsolete vehicles. It brings our total for the year of older equipment up to $34,000 in recoup costs on just the old equipment. We had $14,000 last year, and both years are far and away in excess of what we've had in the past. But I
Excellent.
wanted to thank Alex for the information. We have one more round coming up this year, so maybe we can break $40,000 or $50,000. And again, that lapses the surplus. That helps us offset future budgets.
Fantastic. Mr. Roman?
I think next time we have a police interceptor going up for auction, maybe we should just keep it lettered and then use it as our mobile decoy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Bad idea.
absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Perkins, did you? No, I thought Mr. Perkins raised his hand. No? Okay. Anyone else have any? Mr. Mania?
Sean, the abatement on those nuisance properties, is that Mount Olive Road and the one by the Valley National Bank?
Yes, yeah, the one we
The one
talked
that I've
about,
been-
number 4. Yeah, I believe Mr. Van Ness refers to it as 4 North Mount Olive. And that's on.
Okay, because I see some of the fence has been
collapsing.
removed from that property.
Yeah, he's been in touch with the property. I believe it's a foreclosed property, a property maintenance company, which is sporadically responding to that. So they may have taken some action, but we're at the point now, we're so frustrated that we're gonna end up having to spend some funds, either through our labor or outsourcing it, and then place a lien on that property, and that's what's on for tonight.
Very good.
Just to give council I guess a heads up, in the 2014 budget, we're gonna try to rectify this. Instead of diverting our own labor on our own personnel from Turkey Brook and our roads projects, we're gonna see if we can set aside a kitty of about $5,000 in next year's budget just for landscaping and handyman services. We have another location in town where there's a gaping hole in the roof. You know, we have to hire somebody to tarp it or shingle it just to, you know, make the aesthetics of the neighborhood nice. So it's an ongoing problem, and we're brainstorming how to manage it best.
Mr. Roman?
Is there any way we could just have, you know, companies on retainer, like a landscaping company on retainer?
We're in the process of doing that now. The
Okay.
landscaping RFQs are out, and there's 3 categories: utility properties, trails, and then the third one is for distressed properties.
Because if that's something that we're going to be getting reimbursed anyway, with all due respect, does it really matter?
Yeah, that's the goal, and we'll probably end up getting 1 or 2 handyman companies just for stuff that doesn't involve grass cutting.
Any other questions on the resolutions? Mr. Roman?
On the third resolution regarding the contract awarded for carnival services, I see it's to McCafferty Enterprises. Could you give me just a quick rundown on what other carnivals they have run?
Sure. The top 4 that they had cited in their RFP response was Carnival in Hoboken, where they were working for This Is It Productions, Atlantic Highlands Fire Department, the African American Heritage Parade in Newark, and also St. Joan of Arc in Marlton. They have about 12 years of experience. Jill Dagan sat on the review committee. She was very satisfied with their proposal and thought they had the experience. And we're going to try to ensure that the contract we enter into is crafted where we have protections. I've been in touch with Jeff and Fred, just to make sure we don't end up in the same type of problems where we're at with the past vendor.
Any other questions on resolutions? No? Mr. Perkins? Oh, and then Mr. Canning.
Let's see, first, we have the resolution on the MCOR services for the HVAC system. Sean, did we get was the building commissioned?
No, we're in the final stages of their balancing currently. Last week, this week, and next week, we anticipate a 3-week balancing. It has gotten slightly better in the building as they've slowly been doing it, so we're in the commissioning stage currently.
I'm going back. Originally, when the AC was installed, the HVAC system, was it commissioned at that point?
I don't believe the system was ever commissioned from the initial build,
All right, so that's,
which is part of why we're in the process of
stage
rectifying it currently. This was a minor change order as they were going through it, and again, to satisfy New Jersey law, it has to be something that was unforeseen in our bid specs, and these fans being, I believe, backwards on the initial install was something I didn't have in my bid spec, and they certainly didn't see it from what they were looking at.
no. And the second one, just a comment for the resolution on the Sustainable Jersey Grant. New Jersey, just congratulations, goes out to the township. We got a grant. Again, to toot our horn a little bit, we were one of the first 32 municipalities in the state of New Jersey to receive New Jersey Sustainable Jersey certification. And as such, that did open up the pathway for us to be able to apply for some grants down the road. So here's a $10,000 grant that's going to be put to some good use on the trails. So good work, Sean, good work.
And then we have Mr. Canning and then the mayor.
You want rank?
He's going to defer to the mayor.
Kudos to Mr. Canning, who wrote the grant.
Yes, absolutely. And then Mr. Canning and Mr. Roman?
Yes, I want to draw attention to Mrs. Bassett, the resolution for the Owl Night on Friday, right, I believe. There's a resolution there down at Turkey Brook Park. I don't know if anybody's had the chance to go that far in the back.
That's why her
The
name's
council
on
president and I
there.
were fortunate to go back there about a month ago, and it's beautiful. There's they donated 2 benches, and there's the birdhouse is there, and the whole area. Frank Wilbur Jr. has been improving it, and it's a nice, peaceful sanctuary back
Yep.
there, and it's really shaping up. It's going to be even more beautiful by next spring. So I want to draw council's attention to her generosity.
Yes, thank you very much, Lisa. I was trying to figure out why your name sounds so familiar. I went down there. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I want to know, do you have any hummingbirds yet? Yeah. Oh, I got to go check them out. I love
I've
hummingbirds.
been back there myself. It is beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful. Council, anybody else been back there to see? It's like incredibly gorgeous. It's a great idea. And when are you having your owl walk? On the 18th. Excellent. Excellent. I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
You
That's,
have a
reason-
Facebook page also, right? You have a Facebook page?
oh, you do? Oh, well, you have to go, I'm sorry, Lisa, you have to go to the podium because we have to pick, if you could just please. What's your Facebook page?
It is my name, Lisa Fassett.
Okay.
And it's the Mount Olive Birder Club, and if you can help me arrange it so that it doesn't have to be accessed through my page, that would be a great help. I just don't know how to do that.
Speak to Lisa Pignataro
Yeah.
in my office, who
Great.
She's on the camera.
back there.
Oh, hi, Lisa, okay.
If you give her a call during the day, she will help you
Walk you through the
as best she can to get it to where you want it to be.
You'd have to go up to the
Excellent.
podium, this other lady, you have to go up to the podium to,
I just have a question.
you have to speak in the microphone because
question
has
for
to be
me?
picked up on the record, sorry.
Shall I
Just state your name and address.
Well, I'm Lindsay Mason. I'm in Hackettstown, but I'm with WRNJ News. And
Oh.
you mentioned an owl walk, and I was just hoping that either Ms. Fassett or the council could provide some additional information. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Would you be able to give her the information when
Yeah,
we're
I'm sure
done?
she-
Yeah,
I'd be
and then
happy
she'll,
to. Yes, thank you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
again. Now that I'm at the mic, I do want to thank you all, especially you, Mr. Canning, for making that possible for us. So
Yes.
I appreciate it.
fantastic. We have Mr. Roman?
On number 6, the resolution for snow plowing services. Just want to make sure that they will not be able to subcontract. Is there a provision?
No, it's these three companies, and they are part of the overall snow removal plan. Mr. Quinn uses them in some of the areas where we don't, either we can't get to or we don't want to use our equipment, and these are the three companies. It's affixed to them, from what I understand.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay.
In fact, this year, I'd like to have more of a robust follow-up in this year's snowstorms, come back and find out how we're spending our money, where we are, where we're getting complaints, and where we have to do either vendor evaluation or better training.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions on the resolutions? I'm seeing anybody from the audience. Any resolution questions? Okay, seeing none. Ordinances, any questions on the ordinances? Any comments? All right, seeing none. We have old business. Anybody have anything for old business? Nope. New business. Just want to bring up something for new business. I want to thank Mr. Canning and our DPW department, our engineer. I had a listing on Center Street, which fortunately closed, which was fantastic. But in my extra travels on Center Street, I happened to notice that the road was sinking. And some of the residents had made mention to me also. Mr. Canning was really great. I was on the phone with him one day mentioning it, and next morning he drove over. I was on the phone because I wanted to tell him exactly where it was. I didn't even have to tell him. He saw it right away. He had our department. My concern and Mr. Canning's concern was the way it was zipping. It was going along with the sewer line, and it was headed like down towards the lake. I was like really worried that there was possibly an underground spring had popped up, with the different construction, the under the ground that it shifts and you never know, water finds its path of least resistance. And they went out first. The very first thing was to run the cameras to the sewer line, make sure that the sewer line wasn't compromised. It was in good shape. And now it's on the agenda, hopefully around the 15th. They actually have to open the road up and refill it and redo the road. And the residents are absolutely thrilled. And when the cars are parked on either side, you can't avoid, it's a huge sink. It is really just a big belly in the middle of the road. And some of the residents told me just watching the buses try to avoid it, it's like it was very difficult. So I'm very, very pleased. This is unexpected expense in our budget, but it's being addressed immediately because it is a concern, and I'm very thankful. So we see anything on the road, we need to help our guys out and let them know, because we're the eyes and ears out there, as well as our residents too.
And look for all those properties that don't mow their lawns.
Yeah, well, one of the properties, 14 Lisa, Sean, that we had, you were going to put the lien on, 14 Lisa, that expired, so God only knows what's going to happen now. They're not even showing it, and that's a bank owned.
It's a problem.
It is. So I'm going to open the meeting to the public. If anyone from the public has any comments, concerns, seeing none, I close the public portion, adjourn to the public meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty, we're moving right along now to our public meeting this evening. And Mrs. Lashway, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Here.
Here.
Mr. Nacastro? Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Stazak?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here.
Mrs. Layback?
Here. John was so funny, Mr. Franti. He was like, okay, you have two choices. It's either going to be a yes or a here. I've done that many times. I just want to state for the record that Mr. Nacastro is not feeling well this evening, and hopefully he's on the road to recovery. And
That's because he was out in the rain yesterday for the Mount Olive Child Care
I know.
Learning Center golf outing, which he ran.
He was in charge of the Mount Olive Child Care and Learning Center golf outing, and all the emails we got and all this work he did for it, and then the one day of the week, and it poured the whole day, and it was cold and miserable. And a lot of time and work goes into making these events successful, and he does a great job.
It really wasn't that cold, and it was only miserable for about 6 holes.
Oh.
And we all got in, most of us got in before the deluge.
Before the deluge.
Him out there.
Oh, goodness, that's always the way. That's the one thing with outdoor events are absolutely fantastic when the weather cooperates. When it doesn't, it's really rough. So we had our Pledge of Allegiance during the workshop, and now we're on to approval of minutes. Mr. Fronte, would you please move the minutes for us?
Sure, I approve the workshop, public meeting, and closed session minutes of September 17th, 2013.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Abstain.
Mrs. Laybaugh?
Yes. Correspondence, we have 43 pieces of correspondence. Would anyone like to address any of our correspondence this evening? Okay, seeing none, we're moving right along. We have our ordinances for public hearing. Let me just get my little sheet here. Alrighty.
The last meeting of the planning board was canceled, so they have not had an opportunity to review the first two orders. So we do need to continue them to the October 22nd meeting.
Okay, so we'll just make a motion to continue?
Yes.
Alrighty, Mr. Ferranti, would you make a motion to continue ordinance number 24-2013 for us?
Sure, I move to continue ordinance number 24-2013.
Second.
Do we have to do a roll call? Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybaugh?
Yes. Mr. Perkins, would you please continue ordinance number 25-2013?
Yes, Madam President, make a motion that we continue ordinance number 25-2013 to October 22nd, 2013.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybaugh?
Yes. Alrighty. The next item on the agenda for first, no, this is
Nope.
second reading. Sorry, I had to turn my page over. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 26-2013 entitled Ordinance Amending Section 3 and Section 6B of Bond Ordinance number 1-2013 of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, finally adopted February 5th, 2013, in order to amend the appropriation and authorization amounts and the average useful life. Mr. Perkins? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Roman?
I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 26-2013.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none? Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Ordinance number 26-2013 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Alrighty. Next on our agenda, we have ordinance number 27-2013, ordinance appropriating $212,016 to be received from the 2013 Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund for improvements to the former Baptist Church in and by the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey. Mr. Stazak, would you please move that for us?
Yeah, I move ordinance number 27-2013 to be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on October 22nd, 2013 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with requirements of law.
Second.
Thank you. Any council discussion? Seeing none. Anyone from the public? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frante?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Alrighty. Next item on the agenda for first reading is ordinance number 28-2013, bond ordinance amending section 3H of bond ordinance number 13-2013 as amended by bond ordinance 25-2012, number 33-2012 and 6-2013 of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, in order to provide for Turkey Brook Park tot lot improvements. Mr. Maney, would you please move that ordinance for us?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that ordinance number 28-2013 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on October 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Any council discussion? Seeing none. Anyone from the public? Okay, seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frante?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Mania? I went out of order, I'm sorry.
What's that?
She went out of order.
It's okay.
wondering how
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Natural.
I'm calling La Raza.
Nobody's
All right,
perfect.
this shit's gonna stop.
You looked right at Alex and called him Mr. Mania.
We look alike, that's fine. We get that.
I'm not gonna go there.
Oh, gosh. This is so funny. Council resolutions. We have, how many? We have a lot of resolutions this evening. All total, we have 22. Would anyone like to have any move to non-consent? Seeing none. Mr. Ferrante, would you please move our consent resolutions this evening, 1
Sure,
through 22?
I move consent resolutions numbers 1 through 22.
Second.
Do we have any discussion on our resolutions this evening? Seeing none. Anybody from the public? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frante?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Mr. Stazak, would you please move our bill list?
Certainly.
Thank
I
you.
move the bill list for,
Second.
can I finish? Mr. Meany. I know it's been a while.
Okay. Any questions about the bill list? Any concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Frante?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Administrative reports, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Canning, can you give us the good news?
Sure.
We both have. I'll let Sean go first.
Just a couple things. If anybody has had the fortune to be up there, the Givaudan Trails is really taking shape. The finished putting down the stone dust QP last week around the bollards really has taken the aspect of a trail now. It looks really nice. The bollards will be cut down in the next week or two. The guiding rope will be put in by our personnel and Givaudan, and then Everything's still left to be done, whether it's done this year or into next year will be the kiosks. And Givaudan is postponing the ribbon ceremony. I think we're going to do it in March. They want to make sure everything's really perfect up there, but it looks beautiful. So we'll be moving on to the next phase next spring.
We have a mountain bike. It's about a mile each direction. It's
Yeah.
really a nice ride, right along the old Morris Canal.
Two people I want to recognize on our team, Lisa Pignataro, all sorts of legwork dealing between Givaudan and the state DEP, and we've had conversations that were with the state from the mild to the wild. It was a heck of a roller coaster, but she did a very good job navigating that. And Frank Wilbur Jr. And his crew up there, they're phenomenal. I can't say enough about him. Frank always gets the job done, and him and his crew are terrific. Three-phase at Turkey Brook, another large project that was on the front burner for this year. Again, ran into some problems with the utility company that is done. They finally pulled all the wires, plugged it in, and everything but one light up in Turkey Brook Park is working, and Musco is going to come out and replace that. So Frank was able to get that done with his crew. Again, they spent a lot of time in August with the chip hammer for a week going through the shelf rock that was unanticipated, but they did a good job. Mailing for the auto refuse is in the final stages. That's going to be going out, if not tomorrow, by Friday. So the mailing will be going to every residence that's going to receive a new water refuse can. They'll be getting that mailing like we had said they were going to. We've already started some on Facebook, and they'll be picking up as the next couple weeks go by. The cans should be delivered on or about November 12th. Within the cans, there'll be another brochure, flyer, instructional, and anybody still requiring help after that, they can contact either myself or Public Works. We'll go right to the residents, spray on the road where to put the can. We'll do whatever we have to do to try to reduce the hiccups in this program. So that's all I have.
I have a couple. First, I'd like to read two letters that I received, which really goes to an issue that people don't deserve enough credit. Dear Chief Falutico, on August 5, 2013, I fell from a ladder at my residence in Bennington subdivision in Flanders. I suffered a serious fracture, ultimately requiring surgery, and was bearing the worst pain imaginable. My wife called 911, and Flanders Fire and Rescue arrived in minutes. I would be remiss if I did not write to tell you about the professionalism of the care I received, and as importantly, the amazing sensitivity and concern with which our squad treated me following this accident, and goes on further to really congratulate the Flanders squad, including Bruce Gallagher, Nicole Shields, and Casey Elms. I received another letter. Dear Mayor Greenbaum, please accept this donation of $100 as a token of our appreciation for the care, concern, and response provided to Charlie and I on August 24. We were hit head-on in a car accident on North Road, and your EMT from Flanders were very quick to arrive. A very special thank you goes to Susan Scribner, who is a member of the Bud Lake Rescue Team. She was behind our car that night and took very special care of her. So kudos again to the people who worked the hardest on behalf of the residents of Mount Olive as volunteers. A couple of things that I need to mention. The McMatch Food Drive, I don't know if you're all aware, for the second year in a row, Mount Olive, thanks to the great efforts of Lisa Pignataro in coordinating the community effort, we were successful in raising $7,128 worth of contributions. We were the biggest contributor in our group, which is the largest group, and the biggest contributor overall. And so there will be an award coming to Mount Olive for the McMatch Food Drive. A special thank you to Dorsey and Semero, Sam's Club, Manor House Manor, Motion Key of Mount Olive, and to the township staff in terms of winning. I don't know if you're all aware, but the Tot Lot is moving forward at breakneck speed in a great way. For the time being, and maybe permanently, it's being called Mount Playmore. I don't know ultimately what it'll end up, but that's what REC is calling it. And there is a design day on Thursday, November 7th at the Mount Olive Senior Center. One of the things which is really interesting is the coordination between the township, the company that's running this, and the school system, because the design day and the school system have designed a program where the G&T students are actually coming in and real world helping in the design of the project. So our best and our brightest kids are coordinating through the school system to be part of this project, which really was the vision, part of the vision of what we wanted to do with this project. So It was a great decision on our part to move this forward in this fashion, and I know that we're all going to be really proud at the end of the day. Rec has an event coming up, the second annual Oktoberfest fundraiser for Mount Olive Recreation. It's being held at the Corner Pub on Thursday, October 10th, and Friday, October 11th. I know that the Corner Pub has a lot of great things planned, including giveaways on those 2 days. It's from 6 to 10. There's beer tasting and food pairing. Friday, October 11th, all-day open house, HAUS party. Can contact the Corner Pub at 973-584-2345. That's all that I have.
Excellent. Thank you. I also want to, I'm surprised you didn't read the one letter that was sent to you, the 3 children, thanking Mr. Canning for helping their mommy.
Oh, yeah, that was a very interesting story.
That was great.
On my Facebook page, I had received a message, a private message from somebody who had called the town about this terrible odor that they had smelled. And they didn't know where it was coming from, and ultimately, the mother went outside and found that the smell was emanating from a dead animal. She called the township, and the township took the normal position that if it's on your property, it's your responsibility. So after that, the resident contacted me, and I contacted Sean. I said, let's get somebody out there to take care of the problem. And lo and behold, I find out that Mr. Canning, in his suit, went out and bagged this dead fox that obviously had been there for some time, because as the way it was described to me, it was maggots and bones that were, it was pretty much all that was present. And so the mother wrote me a very nice thank you message that obviously was from her, but it was written from the point of view of the 3 kids helping mommy out, and really does go to show, you know, Sean as an exemplary member of our staff, that going, you know, beyond what is expected really does make a difference in the community. So,
Yeah.
you know, we put it up on the Facebook page. It got a tremendous amount of hits, and I know all of Sean's friends from other towns were contacting him about hamsters that they and the like. So,
And I know Sean is embarrassed, and I'm sure he's gonna say something to me later, but it is absolutely true. It's like, you know, you lead by example, and Mayor leads by example, Sean leads by example, and it's the kind of service that we like to give our employees, that we letting them know we care about them, and we try to do whatever we can when we can to help out.
let me raise one other issue before we move on to the next section, and it relates to the Fenimore landfill. I don't know how many of you have been following what's going on as it affects Mount Olive, but there have been a number of reports to the township, to the DEP, and on my Facebook page, that people have smelled what they consider to be rotten eggs that they attribute to the landfill. Each of the reports has been checked out by our health department, and I continue to monitor that. I believe at the current time, it is in the best interest of Mount Olive to continue to monitor the complaints through the health department. The DEP and Roxbury are dealing with the issues directly. At the present time, I don't believe that Mount Olive's involvement in the problem will change the course of the resolution, and so I continue to monitor it on a daily basis through our department heads, specifically the health department, but all of the other department heads as well. And I will give you updates if there's any change to that situation. But certainly, if you come to know of anyone who has any specific complaints related to those smells or anything having to do with the landfill, they need to contact the health department immediately, so that those complaints can be checked out. I don't know if the Board of Health is dealing with the issue at all. I'll speak to you afterwards about the issue.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. We have next old business. Any old business? Seeing none. Any new business? Seeing none. Moving right along. Legal matters.
Thank you, Madam President. Administration, as well as other departments, have been keeping our office pretty busy the last couple weeks, which is good. Other than that, nothing specific tonight.
Very good, thank you. I also want to thank your office. You've always been very responsive. Any questions, concerns? Thank you very, very much.
How's Joe working out?
Good.
Yeah.
Good, yeah, he's been there about a month or so.
And he's still there?
Still there.
Send him up here, we'll straighten him out. By the way, he is welcome to come.
Yeah,
He
he's a
lives-
Mount Olive resident.
Yeah, he's a Mount Olive resident. Tell him we'd love to have him, and
I'll mention it.
we'll even make a seat for him. And which one is those chairs that drops really fast? We'll have that one for Joe.
It's the one you're sitting in
Oh,
currently.
that's what the problem is. Yes, I used to be tall before this meeting started. And we have, now we have our council reports. Mr. Ferrante, would you please give us your reports?
Sure, the only report I have today is just a reminder that this Saturday from 9 to 11 will be the lake cleanup. They'll be working around the beach area and then all along the coast by Route 46.
The coast?
Yep.
The shoreline.
Shoreline.
I was like, because I was thinking, uh-oh, now we have no, that's just teasing you, John. Next, we have Mr. Perkins. Oh, Mr. Mania. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Instead of going alphabetical, I was going down this way.
Your choice, Madam President.
I will say, Mr. Mania, would you please give us your reports?
Thank you.
I was working like this.
Right. We have a planning board meeting coming up this Thursday,
Mhm.
and the application will be before us for that dome that's proposed up at the Solar Sun Club there.
Should be a vote on that issue.
Pardon?
Should be a vote on
Yeah,
that issue.
this will be the third meeting. I had to listen to the CDs for the past two meetings, but I will be attending.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next, we have, well, Mr. Castro's not here, and we have Mr. Perkins.
Board of Health, Madam Chairman, thank you. The Board of Health meeting was canceled last month. They couldn't get a quorum. Legislative Committee, I've gotten the assurances from Assemblywoman McCose as well as Senator Rojo, anything that they can do. They like working with the mayor and Sean on different items, and obviously right now we're in re-election mode, so wishing them the best, and nothing to report on economic development.
Has Economic Development Committee been meeting, or?
I haven't had a meeting recently, Madam President. I got an email from Jeff Stottleman. I know he wants to get together to talk about a few things, but other than that, most of the economic development has been coordinated through the mayor's office.
Okay. Next, we have Mr. Roman.
Well, the mayor, as usual, takes some of my things I'm going to comment on. I was going to comment on the Mount
Steals your thunder?
Thunder, lightning, what have you. On the Mount Playmore, which I'm kind of getting used to that name. And also, they launched a new Facebook page today. So hopefully that would be one avenue by way of getting donations. I am looking forward to the design day. It's very exciting how that's shaping up, and I think this is definitely one of those things that is definitely going to bring the township and residents together as they partake in this. On the Board of Ed at the meeting of September 23rd, several new teachers were recognized by the board. Among them were some Mount Olive graduates, Melissa Grossberg, Corey DeCola, Megan Spitzer, and Siraj Ziad. So it's good to see that at least some of the teachers being hired are Mount Olive graduates. And that's all I have.
All right. Mr. Stazak?
The MOTV committee continues to post our clues on Facebook, so we're pretty much status quo. We're still looking for some of the sports teams to provide us with videos so we can air them on MOTV.
Excellent. TNR has their yard sale this weekend, Friday and Saturday at the After on Route 206 in Flanders. Anybody has any donations, please bring them by. Thursday night we'll be going around picking up donations. If you want to give us a call, swing by and pick them up. Otherwise, if anybody can drop stuff off on Friday morning, that would be great. It is our large, we have them twice a year. It's our biggest fundraiser. And so we'll be there. And the after, I want to thank them very much. They're always very gracious and allow us the use of the lower end of the parking lot. So, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, one other thing that I forgot to mention, I wanted to give a big thank you to Les Smith and the Rockefeller Group, who made very generous cash contributions to Mount Olive Lions Club, Mount Olive Robotics Team, and to the Mount Olive Child Care and Learning Center in the past couple of weeks.
Excellent.
And I'm sure that those contributions will benefit many residents in Mount Olive.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much. Now open the meeting to the public portion. Anybody from the public? Seeing no one? Well, no one that's coming up to say anything. We have 2 people. Close the public portion. And council comments. Mr. Ferrante.
Nothing today.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Wanted to thank the council, the mayor, and others for the generous gifts. After the passing of my mom, it was a long 3.5 months. Touch and go there. Kind of had some spurts where we thought things were looking up, and then unfortunately they didn't work out that way. So again, thank you all for your kind words, your thoughts, your prayers, and for those that stopped by at the funeral home. Definitely it was heartfelt. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. That's it, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Roman?
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Stazak?
Nothing?
Mr. Mania?
Yes, just want to make a comment about the Knights of Columbus Council 6100. We'll be donating $250 per family with the 2 families that were left homeless from the fire at the apartments. I will be getting the checks this coming Monday, and I will present them through Lisa, present them to the 2 families.
Excellent. Very good, thank you. Mr. Mayor?
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention and wish prayers to John Biondi, former councilman in Mount Olive, who suffered a very serious health condition and is hospitalized in South Jersey.
Had a heart attack, right?
Had a heart attack.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
It happened either yesterday or the day before. Speedy recovery.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks for letting us know. I really miss John, too. John Biondi. He was...
A character?
Huh?
Character.
He is a character. He is really like him very, very much. Do miss him.
He was probably one of the best dressed councilmen to attend the meeting.
He never...
I mean, he was always...
Never wore the same tie. Ever.
Well,
No.
I think he went to shop with Rob for ties.
Certainly not with Sean.
No. Are you going to start?
Sears only carries 3 different kind of ties.
4.
I thought you were going to talk about the package deals with the shirt and tie combos. I remember you used to wear those, Rob. Alrighty. And the only thing I want to say for my council comments, I'm just so absolutely pleased and thrilled. It's a great time to live in Mount Olive, and it's like everywhere you go, everybody it's so nice to go into the store and hear all these positive comments. Go to a party, positive comments. Everywhere you go, it's positive comments, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So I want to thank our mayor and our administration, our staff, our employees, and the rest of the council, because it's a really great time to be here. Thank you. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Very good. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.